Esports is proud to bring you a championship event like no other. The System 7. This exciting rally circuit pays homage to Earth's classic rally and Formula One traditions, pushing drivers and their teams to their absolute limit across some of the toughest terrains Stanton has to offer. Qualifying teams will push through 7 individual races located across the system, from the isolated moons of Crusader to the bustling city centers of Hurston and Microtech. Each race, pilots will control a featured vehicle, from the rugged Drake Dragonfly to the lightning-fast Tumbril Cyclone, navigate perilous terrain and conditions, as well as one another. Racers will face off on Magda, crashing through mountain passes and dusty valleys. Wallow, where jutting cliffs and deep craters force pilots to thread the perfect line. And Cleo, where one wrong move means plummeting into a lunar sea. Racers will pick up individual wins across the races, but only the team with the highest overall standing can claim the title of System 7's champion. Sign-ups begin soon. Get your crew together and join us for the System 7. You won't want to miss it.
Oh, 7 Star Citizens, and welcome to the System 7 race number 3. We'll get to that in a second, but first off, I am Crunchy, and I am joined by my favorite other commentator of all time, Red Monster SC. How are we doing today?
Red Monster SC here, and yes, it's the Battle of the Beards today, as Crunchy and I duke it out for supremacy. But realistically, the big competition today is our first race in the System 7 series. Now, this is race 3, but our first race, we were either bad at numbers or there's something that happened.
Yeah, look, I don't count too well. Obviously, 2 weeks ago, we were supposed to have race number 1 and 2 together, but unfortunately, there was a patch that was released just before it, and it was a little bit too unstable. So because of the sort of integrity of the race, we decided to postpone it. And if you are paying attention at home, I can let you know when we have postponed it too. Now, I live in the future, so for me, it's going to be May 11th. We're going to run race number 1 and 2, but for all of you guys, for the most of you, it's going to be May 10th. All right. So if you want to see race number 1 and 2 over on Orison, that's when you need to come and watch us. May 10th.
Yep, and shifting the whole schedule back 2 weeks to account for races 1 and 2. We're going to do races 3, races 4 and 5 over 2 weeks from now, and then race 1 and 2 Saturday, May 10th, with races 6 and 7 then coming on the 24th and beyond that. So
yeah, so it should be a good time overall. Hopefully our racers haven't forgotten how to race. It's been a couple of weeks since they've actually brought themselves out here, but we are going to have a special one today, which is going to be pretty cool. But before we get to that, let's have a quick gander backwards at what we did. So I somehow have lost my link to the thing. I don't know. There it is. What we've sort of done. So we did the qualifiers. We did the qualifiers 4 weeks ago now. It was awesome. We had some fantastic races there, and everyone who qualified you're going to be seeing today. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We had our top 3 racing teams from last year. That was Amarok's Fang, Punchnomi's, and my brain is forgetting Blackhawks. They auto-qualified from last year as they top 3 last year. But we got to look at all of the other teams that we're going to be seeing today. So if we have that up, can we have a quick look at all of the times that our qualifiers had? So here you go. You can have a look here. So these were our top 16 teams from all the teams that tried to qualify. We did get those already qualified teams come in and try to get some numbers as well, but you can sort of see they're very, very tight in that top 8 there. A bunch of teams within that 1 minute 20 mark, sort of showing you just how competitive these races can become. Not to mention, Red, we had an absolute sort of like a sweat of a moment for the last like 5 races or so, as Test Squadron was sitting there at 128.396, and they just needed no one to beat them, and they got very, very lucky there and were able to squash themselves in.
And of course, 16 teams qualifying for the full System 7 here. It is good to see Test Squadron out there. But if you follow racing and StarCitizen, a lot of these names are going to be very familiar to you, both the teams as well as the individuals that are putting out the race for today. And the distribution on this timing looks really tight, and it belies the real intensity at which these teams battled it out to get in through this qualifier. And now the points are up, right? We're going to be going through
Yep.
earning their first points towards this System 7. So today's
Yeah,
going to
which
determine that.
let's go to
Get
that.
the point set up. Yep.
Yeah, so let's go to that. So we've got a new point structure this year. If you're not familiar with the System 7, the way that it works is this is a series of 7 races in which our competitors essentially are fighting for points, kind of like a F1 Grand Prix style thing. But we did make one big important change this year, which is with that second point there. So we've added in an extra layer there that if you come second, you get 18 points. And we've pushed all the other ones down. So we haven't removed any, but what that's done is it's made the top 3 a lot more impactful than it has previously. We would have these situations in previous System 7s where if you came first in like 2 races, just 2 races, it was almost impossible to beat you. Now it's a little bit like there's a little bit more that you can do there,
Yeah.
right? There's a little
It
bit easier ways for
it
you to come
definitely
back.
lends it definitely leads to a more competitive environment as we get further down this series. And of course, you do get an extra bonus point each race for completing the fastest lap. So it's not
Yeah,
completely out of the picture there to score a couple of points in between. So today we're doing a
yeah,
standard point
100%.
structure
That
for
one
races
I
2
just have
and
to say very
5.
quickly that fastest lap is going to be the fastest lap is going to be very, very important, specifically when we get into the heat races. As today, we don't have a
Yeah.
fastest lap. This isn't really a lap based race,
This is
but they
one
will
lap.
go on. Pretty much. Sorry,
Yeah.
continue.
And
Ray.
then and then for races 2 and 5, they're going to go in heats. Each of the 16 teams broken up into 4 groups. The first place going into the finals, second place from each heat going to the runner-up, and third and fourth place competing in the knocked out. Obviously, trying to get that 9th position to get a second point there and salvage a little bit. And overall, you can see the breakdown of the points per race as they move on.
Indeed, you can. Now let's have a look at the tracks themselves. So we obviously are in race number 3 today, so we'll get to that in a moment. But let me show you guys what we're going to be going through all of the races during the 7. So obviously we had our qualifier races over here at the BTR track, an awesome racetrack. Absolutely love it. But who cares about that? We've been there. We've done that. Let's move on to race number 1 and 2, which we'll be seeing in a few weeks' time. We're going to be doing the leisure loop in the Grey Cat STV over here on this big bad boy. So this is a really, really interesting race. Very easy to fall off the sides of these.
Yeah, and this is an expanded concept of race number 2, which is the Cloud Chaser on the Orison platforms. You are racing with your Great Cat PTV with a top speed of a blistering 20 meters per second. That is, I believe, our officially slowest vehicle, but you need it because these platforms can be very precarious. There is a whole lot
Yep.
of gas giant below you if you end up missing. So that leisure loop, of course, race 1, which will be coming May 10th.
Mhm.
Moving on to race
Definitely
2,
indeed.
this will be our Cloud Chasers. Again, an Orison platform. This one with the Grey Cat STV, or the Steve, as we like to call it, with a blistering 34 meters per second. And lap times here about 3 minutes 23 seconds. Or sorry, 3 minutes 2 seconds, with some tight winding pathways around this kind of intersection here, a T type lap.
Yeah, the Cloud Chasers map is now become a bit of a sort of historical map for the System 7. We've participated in a bunch now, and every now and then we try to switch it up a little bit, change the vehicle, and see how it runs. But it's one of my personal favorites because there's a lot of like weird tight turns in some weird situations. If you do get in a situation where you're fighting against someone for some position, you could end up accidentally coming off the side. So it's a bit precarious, but not too complex and not too dangerous most of the time. Unfortunately, one of the reasons why we did have to postpone is it got a little bit too dangerous right after that patch. So hopefully, when we get there in a few weeks' time, it'll be okay.
Yeah. A lot of craziness going on with the positions. We didn't want to have racers accidentally getting knocked out. And of course, the racers themselves wanting to make sure that they have a good run. Now, race 3, which is what we're going to be running today, is the Rift of Adir, which is one of the moons of Pyro, and certainly one of the more scenic locations in Pyro with that moon system, 6 moons, and the gas giant. This is going to be running in the Drake Dragonfly, which tops out at about 189 meters per second. And the expected times start to finish is going to be about 33 minutes. And navigating through tight hills within the valley, you've got a lot of terrain to contend with, and a lot of these rocks are above the collision zone for these the Dragonfly Gravlev. So that's going to be really tough.
Yeah, so notably, this is also our very first race in Pyro that we've ever done for the System 7, which is very, very cool. Whole reason it got changed to the System 7 a couple of years ago was because we wanted to be able to do some stuff in Pyro. Just took a little bit longer than we had thought it might. I'm very, very excited for this race today. So we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but exactly what you said, Red Monster, the race height of the Dragonflies, even at top height, is not going to avoid some of these rocks. So we're likely going to see a lot of explosions, which we always have. One race a year, Dragonflies, big explosions. So we'll probably be seeing that. And also, this is probably one of those races where we'll see people play it a little bit slow. So we'll see what happens there. We'll go through the next ones really quickly because it looks like we're almost ready down on the racetrack already. So very quickly, race number 4, moving on. We're going to be over at the Clio Valley Pass. Yep, go ahead.
Yep. And race number 5 happening on the same day is going to be the Reverse Snake Pit. This Clio Valley Pass, you're alternating between valleys and flat segments with the Tumbrel Cyclone coming in at 37 meters per second. And expected times for that are about 44 minutes start to finish. Beyond that,
this one's
the Clio Valley Pass, or the Reverse Snake Pit.
We used to have a Clio Lake that we would do some of our tracks on, so it's a big run back at that one. It should be a good one. You have to be really, really careful that you don't end up in the water. You will blow up, or sometimes you'll absolutely smash it, and you'll just end up driving underwater forever.
Yeah. And into race 5, again happening on the same day, is our Reverse Snake Pit. This will be run with the Origin X1 Velocity. We're going to run this in heats with 4 players, and expected lap time are about 1 minute. You're going to be doing 3 laps there. So it's a reverse track, no longer requiring the racers to stay on top of the gas pipelines that were a fixture of some of the previous Snake Pit races. And doing heats because of the tight nature of this track. And this track has a special place in my heart. It was my introduction into the racing scene in StarCitizen, and a place that I had put plenty of paint on the sides of those pillars.
Yeah, Reverse Snake Pit in particular, one of my favorite racetracks, especially to do with like a Gravlev vehicles. As regular Snake Pit, you end up bouncing and flying too much, and it makes it really, really hard to navigate through. But when you through reverse, it's a little bit more interesting and a little bit nicer to play. So really, really excited to get into that one. Let's move on to race number 6.
Race number 6 is the Bermuda Bay on Pyro 4. Now, Pyro 4, of course, captured by Pyro 5 as a satellite around that gas giant. This will be raced in 2 laps with the Alpoa Nox, which is, I believe, our fastest vehicle at 224 meters per second. You've got smooth straightaways transitioning between these 3 islands, forming that triangular Bermuda type feature that they are plugging in. So expect this one to be really aggressive between those terrain as well as over the water on Pyro 4.
Yep. And then moving on to race number 7, we're switching it up a little bit. A lot of you will be very familiar with the Lawville Loop that we used to do in the past for race number 7. We're going to be messing around a little bit. We're going to be heading back to Pyro, and we're going to be going Volcano Lake. This is a brand new racetrack that we are still going to be using multiple vehicles for. But one of the cool things is that we have the little Polaris bridge over there in the top left, which should be very interesting. Hopefully people are able to jump through there without crashing into the Polaris themselves, but also hopefully not, because it's something I'd really love to see.
This is, one of the more interesting features of their races, having that Polaris act as a bridge between what would be an impassable barricade there within this chain of lakes and scattered terrain. So fast banks and those scattered lakes are going to make it very difficult to navigate around. And what a great place to have the finale that is expected to be an hour and 26 minutes for the best laps. So that will be coming up for our final race, race 7.
So that's all the 7 races that you're going to be seeing. But we are starting today once again with race number 3. Don't worry about it; it's fine. We're going to be heading all the way over to Adir, and we're going to be running in this big old rift here. So I believe we may already have some views of our races getting ready. We'll head on down there as we talk a little bit more about this racetrack, and we talk a little bit about more of the races that you're going to be seeing today. But as we move down there, if you are there in the comments, let us know who are you rooting for today. First race of the System 7, obviously an important one to tell, how you're going to go throughout the entire course of the race. We're going to start, some rivalries are going to start to get set up today. Where are you at, Red? What do you expect to see today?
Ooh, obviously lots of explosions. I feel like today's race is going to be about who can avoid those obstacles in the terrain. They've done a fantastic job with these pyro moons, and the obviously the terrain scattering and the size of features you're going to have to navigate around. It's going to be perilous for these dragonflies, which are notoriously delicate. So the racers that are able to manage through that more effectively, and maybe take it a little conservatively, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and hopefully we get to see some cool explosions. But also, let's hope the best racers make it through.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I feel like our races, the Dragonfly seems to be a bit of a favorite among most of our Gravlev races, or at least it has in the past. Well, we'd have to see where they're at today, but it's one that they certainly have a lot of practice with. The Daymar Rally, usually the Dragonfly is the #1 pick for Gravlev races on Arena Commander. I see almost unilaterally, I see the Dragonflies around just because while they are finicky and while they can explode, they have kind of more health than the other Gravlevs. At the very least, what they have is they have that extra hull just because they are larger and they're able to withstand some weird collisions with ground and whatnot. And so they can last a little bit. So I'm excited to see how that evolves today. What I think's going to happen though, and Red,
Let's hear the
we'll do an
predictions.
over under. We'll do an over under. I think we're going to see only 1/4 of our races cross the finish line today. I think we're going to see only 4 races cross the finish line. What do you think?
I think we're going to be about 10. I think 10 racers is my guess.
Wow, okay.
That get through the finish. 6 explosions, 6 to 12. We'll take that. But I'm thinking about 10.
All right, 10 races over the finish line. Interesting. So, I mean, there is the thing, right? Like, there have been a lot of these Gravlev races where the strategy has just been go slow and go for the finish, and chances are you'll still make like the top half, right? Just because of people taking riskier routes, people trying to go fast and ended up exploding. If you can play it safe, you'll be in one of those good situations. So that's optimistic, Red, if nothing.
And I do say that because, I think this is going to be one that people are going to want to take a little bit more conservatively. It's their first chance to put points on the board, and they can adjust their strategy throughout the remaining 6 races in this series. But the most important thing today is probably to get some points on the board, establish an early lead, and then give the future racers a little bit of time to adjust and maybe make better decisions when their races come up. This is, our 3rd fastest vehicle, 189 meters a second, which is going to be pretty aggressive over the course of about a 35-minute start to finish time. So if they can maintain a good top speed, that does help. But obviously, if you're crashing into a terrain at nearly 200 meters a second, you're going to have a hard time walking away from that. So,
yeah. There's also, so you can sort of see, actually, from this perspective right now, you can sort of see in front of them what the rift looks like when you're down closer. As you come in from orbit, it looks huge, it looks really hilly. In some of the spots, it can be pretty flat, it can be pretty calm. And in those spots, you probably can push the Dragonfly to the absolute limits. The problem with the Dragonfly comes on sometimes just small bounces, really, really tiny hills that push you up. And then the second that you come down to land, you're on a slope, bam, out you go.
absolutely.
So if you do have your route sorted, if you've been practicing your route, you should be able to know where you can go hard, where you have to slow down a lot, and also where the rock sections are. All the rock sections are going to be, you're going to have to be forced to slow down as much as possible, avoid them as much as possible, because height's just not going to do it.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, with the terrain, some of the Gravlev features here, these dragonflies do have a tendency to hop pretty aggressively. So that's something that racers are going to want to watch out for. This was also brought up in the pre-race briefing that our camera crews need to give them a little bit more space because these things can get elevation very, very quickly and unexpectedly.
Yep.
So it's about racers controlling that, monitoring the terrain that they're coming over. And of course, you talk about this feature. This is the Rift of Adir. They call it the crack track
Mhm.
because you see this
The
valley from
crack.
orbit. But as you're going through, you are, it's deceptive the scale that they're at. We're seeing inside the bottom of the valley as these racers are going. They're lined up on on this kind of hillside, just silhouetting themselves against the features out there. This is a very long track and one that I think is going to test the endurance and patience of some of these racers. And hopefully they've had enough time to practice. They've got their routes down and their milestones, those landmarks they want to navigate through. There are no
For
spotters in this
sure.
race
And
either.
exactly, exactly. And with less than a minute to go before the race begins, one last chance. Let's hear what everyone's rooting for. Who are you going for today? Are you here for Amrox Fang, Punch Nomies, Delta Didus Racing, Lease Motorsports, Sire Racing Team, Blackhawks, Catcom, Nexus, Kuroda Racing, Premier Core Colonial, Venture Origins, Flynn's Freeriders, Novak Racing, Alpine Storm, Drunken Turtle Racing, or Test Squadron?
Get your favorites in chat, and we are getting the countdown. 2, 1, go. We see
And
the
we are
official
off, and it
race
looks
is
like
started.
it has started. It looks like some of our races are in fact yeeting right off the bat, which I love to see. I love a little bit of confidence there at the start, right? Also, no explosions yet.
None
Let's
yet,
go.
but you do see that elevation happen as they come across this that ridge line, getting some of those rocks and getting that elevation there. So for Amarok's Fang, we have Gravity Cat Racing for that team today. Punch Nomies,
Yep.
Quillsars in the pilot's seat. Delta Diatus, we have Check Leak. All three of those folks with a huge pedigree of wins within the racing circuit. List Motorsports, we have Captain Chaos QC, Sire Racing Team with Ricky Tiki, Blackhawks with Ludex 3997, Catcom with Balsamic in the racing seat. Nexus, we have Brooke Van. Yeah, Balsamic with a Q. Nexus Racing Team with Brooke Van in the pilot seat. Kuroda Racing Team with Sanji Sama. And I just want to point out, most other teams, they've got 2 to 4 players that are managing here. And Sanji Sama is running this solo. One big standout. Every single race is on Sanji's back. Premier Corps, they have Amur Racing with Venture Origins, the Yoda Larian. Flynn's Freeriders, we've got Noble DeFluff. Novak Racing is Kadesh 9. We have Alpine Storm with TK CH86 and Drunken Turtle Racing with Kratagos. And Test Squadron, we have Renee racing for that. We see this terrain here
running back to
the just these obsidian rocks.
Yeah, you cannot avoid these with right height for the most part, unless you've really, really sorted out your route, and you are forced to avoid them as much as possible, or you'll see an explosion. I do have to say, like I said, we're going a lot faster at the start of this race than I had anticipated. These kinds of races, which we do essentially have one of these every year, where it's like a dangerous dragonfly race, slow and steady seems to be the strat, but we're bringing it up there a little bit. We're not at full speed, but we're going. And we're going for it. Now, you mentioned Kuroda Racing, Initial D, Sanji Sama, being our only solo racer, our only solo team for the entirety of this System 7. And that's something that has happened less and less as the System 7s have progressed, as sort of teams have started forming. Some of them have formed with other teams and other players that participated in the System 7. And so it's been very, very cool to still see amazing racers like Sanji Sama, who has participated in just a ton of races and proven that they can, in fact, get the top spot. Seeing them race in the System 7, sorry, I'm going back 4 years now, is awesome to see. So love to see there. And unfortunate to see, I think we have an explosion. Sire Racing Team are going to DNF We will get a confirmation if that was a collision and explosion there. But honestly, straight up, I am surprised it has taken 3 minutes. That is kind of wild.
Yeah.
Look at this terrain.
And that was Ricky Ticky in the pilot seat, who, yeah, obviously has some experience racing with the Sire Racing team. They're, of course, representing Spain. We've got racing teams from all over the world participating today. From US, Canada, Mexico. We have Italy, Catalan, Iceland, France, Switzerland, Austria, Mexico. We have racers coming in from across the globe getting out to this event. We do see uphill, Jordy. That is, I believe, the Novak Racing team that's got the first position right now. Czech League with Delta Diatas, Sanji Sama from Team Kuroda Racing. And yeah, let's see the Endermaster here.
Oh,
we just saw a collision.
There we go. Big explosion.
There's
and if you
another
notice,
DNF.
that was at the very bottom of a hill. So that was actually Sanji Sama, most likely, that we
Sanji.
were watching there. So unfortunately, the commentator curse comes back as always. Sanji Sama, well done, good attempt. There you go. It may have in fact been Novak Racing, but
And
we've got
Novak
multiple
Racing
now,
also with a DNF.
Yeah, lots of DNFs. Unfortunate. Now, I do have to ask: if we do have a replay of that explosion that we just saw, I want to point something out to a lot of you that you may not know if you haven't flown the Dragonfly a lot, especially in races like the Daymar Rally or any of these kinds of endurance races. And that is basically where the Dragonfly landed that caused that explosion. One of the big things you have to worry about, and it looks like we don't have the replay, but I'll explain to you guys what happened. A lot of the things that you have to worry about when you're in really any gravlev is if you come down on a sort of incline from your perspective, your ride height can kind of slam into the ground itself. So you always want to be landing on a downhill slope if possible. And yeah, they landed right at the front of an uphill slope. So that was likely the cause of that explosion. You hit too hard, you're going incredibly fast when you're doing those jumps. And yeah, it can cause those sort of explosions. So very unfortunate for a couple of our DNFs there, but we're still well and truly into it.
Yeah, we have 3 DNFs up to this point. Let's see, we got Dark Hour, Czech League, Endermaster, those teams coming through on the top 1, 2, and 3 positions. And yeah, hopefully we're about 6 minutes in. Continuing on the race, expecting this to go about 32 to 35 minutes if these teams can get their best laps in. So,
which brings up a good point. Yeah, like our best laps, that's probably the sort of times we're expecting. You add in a little bit of time because it's race day, but then also add in the time that probably some of our late races there at the bottom are probably bringing in a little bit slower just to make sure that they can finish. So we're probably looking at just sub an hour for everyone to finish is what I'm expecting today.
We have Amarok's Fang with Dark Hour 17 in the front. We've got the other teams coming in, checking in with those that standing here. So continuing on here, this train obviously causing some problems. We've had 3 so far, 6 minutes in. Do you feel like it's going to accelerate, or teams are going to kind of get into their groove, find a real vibe, and be able to manage this terrain as they continue?
Well, yeah, you 100% do end up in sort of the case where like you'll see most of your explosions and collisions early on. The terrain itself, from what we expect, and unfortunately, as I'm talking, we have another DNF there from the Flins Riders. So I imagine that's another explosion there. But usually you see a lot of this sort of stuff happen at the start when it's a little bit more chaotic. Everyone's sort of trying to get into like what feels like a safe pace and feels like a safe route that they can take. So I expect less explosions overall now throughout the rest of the minutes, but we're still very early days. Once again, we're maybe a 5th, maybe a 4th through the race for some of our fastest races, and still plenty more to go, still plenty of rocks that you're going to need to avoid. But I do have to say, every time we're watching one of these dragonflies and I just see it do a little bounce, it like activates something in me. Like the fight or flight starts activating. It's like, they're going to blow up. They're going to blow up. It truly is just like a terrifying experience.
Yeah, it is definitely worth keeping an eye out for, because there's going to be some spectacular explosions, but you really hope your favorite team makes it through.
Which, speaking of favorite teams, so we have Amrox Fang currently listed as our number 1 position today. They did an absolutely fantastic job the last few years in the System 7 and have been constantly proving themselves as one of the best teams and teams to beat. So starting off really well this year is going to be a great sign. You have to really, if you are looking at participating in the System 7 in the future years, you need to look at teams like Amrox Fang, like Punch Nomies. Drunken Turtle
Team
Racing,
Drunken Turtle with a DNF.
Unfortunate.
All right. Continuing to
Gradual
watch these
explosions.
teams
I
as
mean,
they
we'll
make
see.
their way through.
We're down 5 teams in 9 minutes. So once again, seemingly less dangerous still than some of our previous like dangerous Dragonfly races. That is certainly saying something. But yeah, Pyro living up to its expectations, I think.
Absolutely. And of course, all of the team members out there, looks like Amrox Fang is in the current leading position with Gravity Cat at the wheel. Gravity Cat, of course, taking first place in the Grey Cat Social back in July 2023, with a couple others. The System 7 second place from June 23. So a couple of experienced racers within this track and the entire racing circuit.
So yeah, at the moment, Amrox Fang currently in the lead, followed by Premier Core Colonial, and then Delta Dietus Racing. That's where we're sitting at the moment with our top 3, which is a very, very solid top 3. Still extremely early days. We have a ton of time left. You can see we've actually got some of our checkpoints coming up here, so we'll probably get an update very soon. But you can also see whoever we're watching right now, which I imagine is Gravity Cat. We'll get a confirmation for you if we can. We have slowed down a little bit. You can see just how many rocks we're in front of. You know, Red and I were talking about the ride height with the rocks. Yeah, look at them. They're enormous, right? So you just cannot.
This is, yeah, you talk about going through all of that. The absolute terror as you're on your way down, trying to navigate away from the terrain. You're kind of at the mercy of the game engine at that point. To try to not explode. And you see they are strafing left and right to avoid these. That is one of the factors with these ground vehicles that really sets apart the top racers from those who are just casual. You know, you understand all of your maneuvering capabilities, and oh my goodness, we see this lift and they recover properly. But yeah, strafing left and right, trying to avoid these. It's not quite the forests of Endor, but you've got to be dodgy, right?
Exactly. And with those big jumps that you are noticing and that we had earlier, if you are at maximum ride height and you're driving slow enough, you'll usually be okay when you come down from them. But obviously, you're then at the slowest speed possible. So you're losing a lot of advantage to anyone who decides to take it a little bit riskier. We're probably going to see, maybe in about 10, 15 minutes or so, as we start approaching some of our first few races crossing the finish line, people take it a little bit riskier. But we'll see what when we get to that. At the moment, our top 3 is very solidly stuck in, and it's been at least like 2 minutes since our last DNF, so we're in a good spot.
At least 2 minutes, and let's hope the commentator curse doesn't stick around too long, because we are getting into a very rough patch of this terrain. You just see there is no safe outlet here. You are through the briar patch and these gigantic obsidian rocks. Oh, and it looks like Alpine Storm just had a DNF. Alpine Storm, of course,
You did it,
with
Red.
TKCH86. That was exactly my plan. Alpine Storm, DNF here, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're still likely going to see quite a few more of those happen, but 6 teams down, 12 and a half minutes left. It is certainly separating our teams quite a bit here. But this should be the most dangerous race of the entire System 7 this year. A lot of our other races, even our ones that do have Gravlev, are a little bit safer and a little bit more exciting in terms of just how close everyone's going to be. The cool thing about these endurance races is it does test our races a lot, but we don't get to see a lot of action between the teams. We don't get to see a lot of overtaking and fighting for position as much. So it's really more just about can you stay on route for as long as possible? Can you avoid the obstacles for as long as possible?
Yeah. And this is where going fast versus going smooth is really going to set these teams apart. Some going a little aggressive to start, and those on the bottom of the list, I got to say, Croncy, the over-under looks better for you than it was for me. We're already at the 10, and we got 6 explosions. If nobody else does it, I think I come across as a winner, the wise one. But obviously,
Oh, sorry.
as we
Look at
continue on
this
this
rock
race.
field right here. Wow. It is just non-stop. It is just littered. I don't know who decided to make this this big spine in here, but come on, can we clean up for our trash, guys?
I've got to believe that CIG, as they're going out and developing these planets, have just they've got this type of racing event in mind. The giant crack throughout the entire face of the planet here, and the unique topography and features that you find. And I also want to just give a quick shout out to our camera crews who are who are out there chasing these folks in third person, providing us the live views. You occasionally see they bounce back into first person. And of course, Officer Rondog coming up on the profile as he continues to go. This is also a skill, but delivering fantastic views of this race, so we can catch all of the excitement at a scale that really helps you bring it together as far as how large this race is, how dangerous it is, how fast these vehicles are going. All thanks to the fantastic camera operators out there chasing these racers around.
Yeah, we appreciate it a ton.
Oh, that was risky.
These are some extremely risky jumps, but you got to take it sometimes, you know. One thing I wanted to mention is, you know, you were talking about the origin of, like, you know, the CRG have to be, you know, considering racing these sort of locations, or that we would race them. And yeah, of course we would. The very first thing that I heard from pretty much the entire racing community when this location was talked about, I think in 2022 or 2021, it was one of the online citizen cons where they showed that this was going to be a location. Was like, yeah, we're racing that for sure. I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to go in there and we're going to figure it out. And this was a good way to do it. Now, we have had some changes to the leaderboard just then over a little bit. I think, as far as I could tell, I think Amarok's Fang maybe lost their way. They seem to have been sort of curving into the left. So at the moment, we have Premier Core Colonial in first place, followed by Delta Dietus Racing, and then Endermaster, which is Catcom, currently in third place. So, yeah, a little bit of a change up there. We were watching along with Amarok's Fang, and you sort of saw them, you know, you were talking about that terrifying jump. They then did like a 90-degree turn. So I wonder if they were going the wrong way.
And we have Test Squadron hitting the check-in here with Renee running for Test Squadron today. And yeah, the aggressiveness on this terrain is that's going to be a real delimiter.
Yeah, Test Squadron once again eked in just barely our 16th qualifier, and now they are proving that they deserve to be here. Currently at number 5. Now it looks like we are back with at Gravity Cat in first place position. So there's a little bit of a change up between a couple of the first positions now, which means it really is anyone's race. Everyone does seem to be on a different route of some kind. Everyone's figured out their own ways and their own strategies. But we'll see where we get to once we get maybe about 25 minutes in.
Yeah, and it does look like Dark Amarok's Fang with Gravity Cat has taken over the lead position. Of course, up to this point, the 6 teams that have DNF'd are Drunken Turtle, Alpine Storm, Flint's Freeriders, Kuroda Racing, Novak Racing, and Sire Racing Team. That's leaving us with Amarok's Fang, Punch Nobis, Delta Dietus Racing, Liz Motorsports, Blackhawks, Catcom, Nexus, Premier Corps, Venture Origins, and Test Squadron, keeping those next 10 in line for the race.
Now, not to jinx it so that I can win the bet, but it's been a little while since our last DNF, and we still have 10 teams alive on the field. If your team is there on the field, let's get some hype in the chats for them. Start cheering them out, send them some support, maybe send them, you know, some maintenance glue or something. I don't really know what we could do here.
Grab your lucky peanuts and your flight vest, you know, and any of your good luck charms. quite an interesting view here as we see really the vehicle hopping over those terrain. And Venture Origins with the DNF. So Venture Origins has been knocked out. We are down to 9 teams as we continue to keep track of the teams here. And of course, on the leaderboard, we see the individual team member names, but not the specific team members there. We are, we're working with that, but obviously very proud of the individuals here as they go through.
Yeah, definitely have to say
So-
for that last team, pretty solid to still even be able to go through about 17 minutes without exploding. That is a very, very good job. Everyone saw just how rough the terrain was for that first 10 minutes or so, and to be able to avoid all of that and get that far is a very good achievement. So well done.
And, we've got Czech League coming up in second position for the Delta Diatis Racing. No stranger to ground racing. Czech League getting first place in the bike division for Daymar Rally in January 24, as well as third in bike division for February 22. A number of Grey Cat social placements, even the first in multi-crew division for the Mountains of Mayhem 2024. That's an event you're familiar with there, Croncy.
Never heard of it. Don't know what you're talking about.
Continuing
some
down,
very, very prolific races. One of the cool things about a lot of the races that we have here, the people participating, is that they're kind of just in every league that they can possibly get into because they just want to race as much as possible. So it's very cool to see some repeat winners come through. But one of the things I love about the System 7, and especially this year, is we've had a couple of teams very unknown, not necessarily the teams themselves, but the races very unknown and looking to prove themselves. And that's what I'm hoping to see a little bit here today. That's why I am actually really excited that we've got our Test Squadron this year, and they're going to be trying to prove themselves currently in 5th place position, who we're watching right now. So this should be Renee. Trying to prove themselves.
Yeah, and it's a call to other orgs, other large groups that are out there playing and enjoying StarCitizen in its current state, and really developing further into the esports and this racing environment. I've seen a lot more groups developing their esports teams, putting together racing teams, and sharing in that kind of love of just the aggressive terrain. And how to make these vehicles go as fast as possible there. I love this view. You just see that cresting over the ridge line. Oh, that was... You scraped some paint on that one.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of desync there, but I do think that was an actual collision with the ground. It does happen a lot with the Gravlev, especially if you end up putting your ride height too low. You'll sort of skid across the ground. Now, if you're going slow enough, it's okay. You're likely to survive, but you're still going to sustain some damage on the Dragonfly. And eventually, too much of that damage is going to result in you losing some of the engines. Now, the Dragonfly is a little weird. Sometimes you can lose a couple of engines and you'll be okay. You're going to lose a lot of maneuverability, but sometimes it's okay. A lot of the time, it just ends up being an explosion. So best to just not collide with anything.
And obviously, it's really dependent on which portion of the vehicle you might lose or damage, and definitely something that you need to keep an eye out for. That is going to make a difference. It's a lot of times out of your control. You just have to hope you land soft and don't suffer anything too catastrophic.
And speaking of landing soft, watch as sometimes when we go over the crests of these hills. Now, you can obviously see how massive some of these rocks are. When you're jumping over these hills, it can be very unpredictable where those rocks are when you're landing. Now, you do get quite a bit of control while you're in the air of the Gravlev vehicles, but if you get put into a bad spot, we've seen some of those fields of just enormous rocks, just constant. Like we swapped cameras just as we saw one. But you can end up in a spot where you'll jump over the crest of a hill and just land in a giant field of rocks. So if you do not know your route to a T, it's going to be risky.
And we're looking at Premier Quartz Colonial coming in from France. This is Amur that we're seeing on screen right now, running a pretty good line right now. So,
yeah, playing it a bit safe, going up the ridge. Obviously, you can see right there through the center. Just that is death. Do not even bother Just take the sides. It's a little bit smoother. You're going to be able to keep it a bit more. But you can even see, ooh,
You watch as
they go
yeah,
down the
you watch
side.
as
They
they
fall
cut
to the side.
speed there. Yeah, they cut speed trying to get through this area. That is a smart move because if you come over that hill into this ravine, you are basically going directly perpendicular to the surface as you're coming down, and that will end your race day pretty aggressively. So,
Yeah, for sure. So we are not taking any risks right now. That was it was well maneuvered after they fell off the ridge. And we'll see
and
how they recover now as they go through. But you can see it's a little bit. There's a lot smoother areas now as they come out of this debris field.
And great camera work from Foxy there. I don't know if you saw the shadows as they were repositioning to get the right angle there, but flying the Reliant Mako, the dedicated MISC vehicle for reporting and hopefully getting these camera angles there. Pretty aggressive on that line. There you see the speed just take off too.
Yep.
Great acceleration as they get into this flat area. And that's where you really
the
want to let
second
loose.
that they see there's no debris for like the next 200 meters, they're gone. They're absolutely smashing it. So much smaller debris fields here, a lot safer, but you don't want to get yourself into a false sense of security as you come up on these hills, as the fields can sort of widen out really randomly around here.
Yeah, and you see that. Amarok's Fang
There you
we're
go,
watching
Emmerich
here. They're
Fang.
coming across the checkpoint with the C2s. That was Hercules out there.
Yep, they've probably only got one more checkpoint to make, possibly two, before they get to the finish line, but still well and truly in the lead, followed by Delta Dietus Racing, and in third place, Premier Core Colonial.
Yeah. We've got the angles here. Looking very good, but you see that bounce as it goes across the terrain. That's really tough to control in. You're hopefully in free fall. Yeah, we're getting some reports there. Yeah, some reports in the
Yeah,
background here.
there's
Gravity Cat, Amarok's Fang, calling it a lap at 25
which
minutes
which this r-
and change.
which this race doesn't have laps, so very confusing. We're gonna figure out what that message actually means. This is just a straight line race. We do have multiple checkpoints, which that's what we are expecting. That was one of the last checkpoints, maybe checkpoint 3, checkpoint 4, before they start heading towards the finish line. But we'll figure out exactly where they are. We are 26 minutes into the race. We're towards the end of it already for some of our faster times. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is in fact checkpoint number 4.
Yeah, and a previous best time was 32 minutes, so that would be a pretty aggressive run. They would have had to done it absolutely perfectly. And wow, look at this launch, avoiding the
Huge,
rocks as you come back
huge.
down.
Yeah, luckily we are in a
Yeah,
situation where like it's a little bit more flat here, and the second I say that, of course, we go over a hill and we see a big debris field, but a lot more flat than has been for the last 15 minutes or so, where we saw those enormous ones. So we do have confirmation that was checkpoint 4. So right now, Gravity Cat from Amarok's Fang absolutely beelining it towards the finish line, and is likely to be our first finisher here as long as we don't see any big collisions. So we'll see where they end up, likely in first. But once again, we have Czech League from Delta Dietus currently in second, and in third, Premier Core Colonial.
yeah. And continuing, we see we're looking for Quelsar and Ludox, who are our racers for Punch Nomis and Blackhawks. Not seeing a checkpoint for those yet in the 8th and 9th position, but we'll see how they fare. And let's see, Awa Easter is one of our DNF
You,
teams.
they
Oh,
are. I do want to point out, like, yeah, you just oh, someone died. Oh, what a shame. We'll find out who that is in a moment. Um, the leaderboard is changing quite a bit right now, as you can see. I want to point out that we have Team Blackhawks and Team Punch Nomis. Obviously, Amarok's Fang, Punch Nomis, and Team Blackhawks are the 3 teams to beat. And Amarok's Fang absolutely crushing it right now. Oh,
Oh
no!
no, Amur
It looks
with
like that
the Premier
explosion.
Core.
Well, we didn't see the explosion, but the Dragonfly that we did see that was gone there, that was Premier Core Colonial, and that is going to be an explosion for them. So very unfortunate. They were sitting very solidly in 3rd place and sort of moving between 3rd and 2nd for really the entire race, and
Yeah,
just coming up short
second
with an explosion
place
there.
ended just like that. All right. As we come in through, looking at the remainder, it does look like Punch Nomis have gotten a check in. Quelsar putting them in 6th position. Just waiting on Ludox from the Blackhawks with the checkpoint there in position 8. So, watching as this continues up the hill. You got to love these features. Now, how many of these are actually, do you think, are mineable, Croncy? Is that, sorry,
a straight zero amount,
off
100%
topic.
zero amount. However, that would be great. That'd be lovely. I would love to see a maybe combo race here where you've got to sort of race to a specific mineable and then race back with all of the gear as people try to take the mineables off you. But who knows? Maybe that's a.
And here we see Renee with Test Squadron hopping over those ridge lines. Pretty aggressive there.
Oh, yeah, I'm not loving that. I'm not loving that at all.
You gamble on those. Oh, wow, getting pretty vertical there as well. And riding this to the side, you see navigating to try and get on the downhill slope. Very, very close to losing that one.
Yeah, they're falling down, but they're not falling down at full ride height. They're just sort of trusting it for a lot of this, and that is dangerous. But obviously, fast is the advantage, right? Like, it's incredibly risky. But you do gain a little bit of speed there, so maybe they'll be able to push it off there. You can also see that they just started gunning it right then and there.
Yeah,
start pushing through. So here we go. This is
Amarok
apparently
and
Check
Team
League and
Gravity
Gravity
Cat
Cat
are right
on
next
top
to
of each other.
Yeah. And Delta Diatus coming in as well. But it's great to see them this close, right? We've had most of the race, we've been seeing individual vehicles, but seemingly the teams take a similar line. And right side, left side, both kind of looking for an open spot in that terrain to navigate through. Great angles here, being able to see just how close they are.
They were, but it looks like whoever's ever on the right side just started gunning it and absolutely smashed it. I believe the pink armor is Gravity Cat because we were watching them for quite a while, and that is who I recall being that. The other team has just floored it and just absolutely smashed through it. They found a path, and they've accelerated quite a bit. And there we go. I was right. So yeah, Checked Leak is going to be our first place position for the System 7 race number 3, technically race number 1, but who's counting? Well done, Checked Leak and Team Delta Diatus Racing. That is then going to be followed by Amarok's Fang with Gravity Cat. So well done, competitors, to our first and second place positions.
Big accomplishment there. Congratulations, Checked Leak, the Delta Diatus Racing team as well, representing Canada. And great turnaround time there at about the 31-minute mark. Amarok's Fang, 31:46. So we've got the official numbers in there. We are looking at Test Squadron here as they are continuing on their race through those checkpoints.
They cut it so close every time. There we go. Oh, I don't think that was an explosion. That was a skid. They're alive. They're alive. They're on the ground, but they are alive. That was a bit of a skid, so they're okay.
Yeah.
But Test Squadron absolutely crushing it today. Remember, they were
they're going to need a new undershoot after that one.
They were our slowest qualifier, but right now they're sitting pretty in 3rd place position. Now, I want to point out, just back, we had that fight between Check League and Gravity Cat, a couple minutes ago that and ultimately decided 1st and 2nd place. Gravity Cat decided to take it a lot safer, pretty much the entirety of that last minute and a half. Checked Leak said, nah, don't care, gun it, and it paid off a lot. They were right next to each other, and then eventually there was a 40-second difference in the finish time, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it made a huge difference.
Definitely. And we see the other racers still competing, obviously trying to get points on the board. We're about even split. It's 8-8, right?
Mhm.
That top eight, getting the respectable numbers. Everyone with the DNFs and getting their 1 or 2 points. So, but definitely congratulations, Check Leak and Gravity Cat getting top 1 and 2 positions, securing quite a lot of points for the start of System 7. And here we see another, Renee and
Yeah,
Balsamic.
so
Balsamic coming in from Catcom. Balsamic, of course, having first in the Rover division from Daymar Rally 2020, as well as first in the Buggy division, Daymar Rally 23. So Balsamic is no stranger to ground vehicle racing circuits like this.
yeah, exactly. And you can see that they're following pretty much the exact same route at this point. We're just a little bit further behind. So if one of our teams decides to take it a little bit riskier here, just like we saw with Check Leak a little bit earlier, we may be in the same sort of situation. We may see an overtake here. Here we
And we
are.
are
Here's our other
watching
perspective.
Catcom
So this
here.
is Balsamic.
Yeah. And that is a dark paint there in the middle of this dark terrain, which makes it a
Mhm.
little bit more difficult to spot. But we're also getting towards a little more close to sunrise or sunset. And there we
Yep.
go, vertical. Quite the view over the horizon, coming down smooth.
All right, who is it going to be to pick up third place? Now that we've had our points changes this year, third place is a lot more important than it was previously. Picking yourself up 15 points. And it is going to be
And
Balsamic from Team Catcom finishing third place, picking up 15 points, followed very, very closely
and
behind by Test Squadron, absolutely crushing it.
and congratulations, Renee with Test Squadron and Balsamic with Catcom, our third and fourth place teams there. We've got 4 more teams still on the run. That's going to be Ludox from Team Blackhawks. We have Quelsar from Team Punchnomies, Captain Chaos from Lee's Motorsports, and we've got one more. Brook Fam has lost. That team is Team Nexus.
Yep. So Team Nexus, Brook Van, mouse and keyboard today, classic. Wait, sorry. Yes, mouse and keyboard today from the US, which you have quite a few teams from the US this year. Usually it's sort of split like 50-50 US and Europe, but it's mostly been Europe if I try to count very, very quickly. So, yeah, we'll see if they can hold on to their own this year.
And we're getting our first views here of Quelsar from Team Punchnomies, making their way through. This is again another dark paint on a dark terrain with the sunset kind of happening behind us here. Getting pretty close there as Team Punchnomies in sixth place with Captain Chaos, Liz Motorsports. Oh, and Liz Motorsports with a DNF right there at the
Yeah. So now
end. So close.
apparently this is a past DNF from earlier in the day, is what we're being told. So could have been an explosion that happened somewhat earlier that just didn't process through. But either way, we still have 3 teams left racing right now, and they should be very, very close to the end. They've been absolutely crushing it. Right now, to be fair, Red, I said 10 sorry, I said 4 races make 3. You said 10. We're about in the middle point, right? Where it was sort of we're both middly wrong.
And you know what? It's okay. We got to see a couple of really good explosions here. Now others off camera, but yeah, getting through and hoping these last 3 teams are able to get in for a clean finish. And of course, that being an old DNF from that team there. Quelsar really trying to find a clean line here. The terrain isn't too difficult right now, but it's enough that you got to be on your toes.
Yeah, you can sort
Looks
of
like
see
they
the
got a
lines
good
that our
line.
races are able to take through here, where like while it is very debris heavy, you can find these little sections that'll allow you to go pretty straight for a pretty long time, and you'll see the speed sort of accommodate for that. Now, I believe in the distance there, we can see the finish line. So any moment now, we should see Qualisar cross the finish line and pick up 5th place. Should be a good one.
Going
This is, like
vertical
I said,
here.
more races than I expected to finish.
Yeah. And you know what? That's why they're the best, right? Top 16 qualifying teams out here. They know their way around the vehicles, and yeah, Qualisar just coming in right for this finish line. You see the outpost as he comes across for the official check-in.
There we go. Very, very
And there
slow
we go.
across
Team
across the finish line there. You don't want to explode moments before the finish line. So they're going to lock in
38
5th place. We
minutes.
still have 2 teams on the board.
Yeah, 38 minutes, 39 seconds. You know, a little further off of the top team. Oh, and here we see the remnants left behind.
Ooh.
And
It
that is
sounds
Ludox
like
from
this might be
Blackhawks.
Ludox. Huge. Once again, our 3 teams that came through this year automatically qualifying for being top 3 last year was Amrox Fang, Punch Nomis, and Blackhawks. And unfortunately, that's going to be a DNF for Blackhawks this year on the very first race, starting far behind. Big upset for them. We'll see what happens. And it looks like we also have a DNF from Nexus. So the last 2 teams that were on the board, as far as we can tell, did in fact explode before the finish of the race. Now, we'll double check if that is the case. Looks like it is, which means our race is done, Red. That is our top 5 races. Well done to Delta Titus Racing, winning our very first race of the System 7. Technically race number 3, but we don't know how to count. Well done, Czech League.
Well done, Czech League. And you know what? You were there, Croncy. 5 teams finishing, 11 of those with the DNF. That was quite the event. Obviously, the terrain here and the scenery. Just admire this for a moment. Out there racing the Rift of Adir. They call it the crack track, and you know, this is perfect timing. Exactly why.
Sorry, Red. I don't know
that.
if they call it the crack track. I think you call it the crack track. I think that's
You know, I
something
saw
you
that
might
somewhere in
have
official
done.
documentation. It is the crack track. It's the Rift of Adir, and yeah, quite aggressive with that obsidian. So.
Yep. Now, as always with our races here at Ammo Esports, we will double check to make sure everything all went as it did. But you guys were there. We saw team. Oh, my brain. Team Delta Titus Racing cross the finish line first, followed by Amrox Fang. An absolutely fantastic run from those guys there. So we'll put all the points updates over on all the socials and everything when we can. But all in all, very fast race, very quick start to the race, which I do really appreciate. It was awesome to get there, and a very well done performance by our teams overall.
Yeah, and obviously, great work, everyone getting coordinated and ready to go. It seems like the game was performing well. We saw some good competitive streaks there, head-to-head races at some points, and you know, at least one really good explosion. So we'll get that in the recap, and obviously, great work for all the camera operators helping give us those great views. So, what do you think, Croncy? Met expectations?
Well, yeah, it was a little bit better than I was expecting, right? I was expecting only 4 races to cross. We had 5, so it was a little bit more than I was thinking we would get there. Very unfortunate to see a couple of our races eliminated right towards the finish line. Very, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Now, they did cross
the
threshold, so they should still receive some points, which is good, but, you know, obviously they don't finish where they wanted to finish.
Yeah, and that's heartbreaking to get just about there on that last mile and I guess last kilometer and have your ship explode. You know, the overall stress taken during the course of this 35 minutes, you know, taking its toll on these vehicles and making it very difficult to limp through. We had some reports of other vehicles that were having navigational issues coming through partway through the race. Obviously, the wear and tear is a big factor on a race of this type of distance. So,
Yeah.
We do have the preliminary
Yeah.
leaderboards being worked up now, showing those updated score totals. So once those are ready, we don't have any threshold points calculated yet. But to start off, the Delta Diotis Racing, first place getting 25 points. Amarok's Fang with 18 points. Capcom in third with 15. Test Squadron with 12 points. Punch Nomis with 10. And the remainder of our DNFs going through with the TBD. We'll get those sorted out based on when they officially had those vehicle destructions, when they hit the DNF, how far along they got. So
yeah, for those who aren't aware, if you do receive a DNF, because sometimes StarCitizen stuff happens, sometimes we have a really risky race like this, you have to pass a threshold to be awarded your full points. So we just need to make sure that everyone was situated in certain places before we figure that out. But that is going to be the end of the race today. Before we head off and before we say our final goodbyes and whatnot, that was race number 1. In 2 weeks' time, April 26th, we're going to be doing a double race number 4 and 5, which we saw a little bit earlier. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of good time over there. The double race days are really cool because we sort of see a big change of points in a small amount of time. It's going to be very, very cool to see that. And then, of course, race number 1 and 2, which got postponed, May 10th is when we're going to be going back to that one. So those are the next few races if you guys want to watch.
Yep. We'll be doing
Awesome.
race 4 and 5 over on Clio, the Clio Valley Pass with the Tumbrel Cyclone, which should be about a 45-minute duration. And then going into race 5, which is the reverse snake pit, it'll be in heats on the Origin X1 Velocity. And I expect we're going to see quite a lot of crashes there as well. That tight track and the Origin X1 being our second fastest vehicle these racers are operating. We're going to be seeing some impressive runs. The snake pit is a staple within the racing community, and obviously something these racers are going to be very familiar with. But as you mentioned, a lot of points being added, a lot of the leaderboards getting shuffled up as we proceed through races 4 and 5 in 2 weeks from now.
Yep. Well, the System 7 is well and truly underway. Thank you very much, everyone working behind the scenes, for the awesome job that you guys did. Thank you to all the viewers coming and watching and supporting the System 7. We appreciate it a ton. Thank you very much, Red, for casting with me today, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time, and we will never talk in between that time. And thank you all. Easy. See you in 2 weeks' time. We appreciate it, guys.
Great job to all of our racers. Okay.